Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing the Solo shelf series. I know this isn't everyone's favorite movie, but I think this is actually one of the strongest Black Series lines that we've ever got. We're going to start actually with a Figuarts figure, so this is the Solo Chewbacca. The A New Hope version of Chewbacca in Figuarts is very similar, but it goes for about $150 on the aftermarket. It's very hard to find, so you can always just do a face swap and use one of the standard faces here without the goggles, and just switch out the bandolier with maybe a Black Series figure if you want to have that in your collection. The weapon he comes with in this one is, of course, his weapon from the film. It's very detailed. The Figuarts line does a much better job with weapon painting and all of that than Black Series. This is very hard plastic, and it just has a crazy amount of detail. We're going to get that posed up and just get him into place over here, kind of near the front. He obviously is an important part of this story. He is quite tall, so I'm going to have to kind of play around with his positioning a little bit later. Next we have the Black Series Mimban Stormtrooper. I love this character design with the black cape. We're gonna pull out the Figuarts again, and this one is a sculpted cape, so it has a little bit of a different, look to it. It's got some splattered dirt on there. The Black Series one is all warped from the package and just isn't really sitting right, and I don't really love the sculpt, so I'm not crazy about the Figuarts sculpt as well, but I just think the paint detail looks a little bit better, and just overall it feels a little bit more premium. And so we're going to stick him up here at the top, kind of building out in a little Imperial section. While we're on the subject of Mimban, I'm going to use Han Solo in his Imperial outfit. This is the same body that we got with the Migs Mayfeld figure, and probably will get on a Din Djarin figure in the future. This is one of my favorite Black Series figures ever because it's one of my favorite character designs. I never get bored of seeing it, and I think just all the accessories he comes with are great. And he comes with enough accessories that we can actually build out a second trooper. You could do a head swap here, but all I did was take off the cape and add a gas mask, and he'll just be over here as another trooper from that same scene. Let's get into some customs now. So we have the standard Black Series Han. I found this guy at several comic book shops for like $5. He's great for customs. But then we have this custom one that I did. I think I used some Cassian pieces here. I don't remember exactly, but I did some airbrushing to get the paint a little bit even. This was pretty early on in my customizing journey, and so I wasn't entirely sure what I was doing yet, but I love the way it came out in his kind of Corellia look from the beginning of the film, and we'll stick him right here in the front. Next we have an incredible figure, this Dryden Voss figure. I don't know exactly what Star Wars The Black Series was doing during this wave to make all these figures so good, but the face printing and sculpting is so on point, and they aren't shiny, they're just a matte finish. Like, they are all so great out of the box. And I've actually used this body in the past as a Duros, kind of businessman, I guess. I had him as an extra in my Jabba's Palace. We're gonna come back to Dryden Voss in a little bit because he actually has a little surprise feature if you stick him in the freezer. Then we have Malik. This figure is traffic cone to the max, it's just one giant hunk of plastic. His mask does come off, and he actually has a sculpted painted face underneath, which is really nice. This was a deluxe figure. This regularly goes for under $10 now on Amazon. The movie just really underperformed, and I think as a result, the figures did as well. I don't think there were as many Black Series collectors back then because the figures were usually not this good, so I think a lot of people like myself just weren't collecting back then, and so by the time they started collecting, the movie had already sort of come and gone. This L3 figure is great. She's very hard to stand up, but I love all the exposed wiring. I would love to see a Episode 1 C-3PO done in a similar fashion with all of those exposed wires, because they've proven that they can do it. So this is what Dryden Voss looks like after you leave him in the freezer for a few minutes. This is such a cool feature. I don't think they advertised this on the box, but someone let me know, and I was totally shocked to see that it actually worked. So go ahead and try that on your Dryden Voss if you have not already done so. Now continuing on the just fresh out of the box incredible figures is this Tobias Beckett figure. The likeness to Woody Harrelson is just unmistakable. I've used this coat for a lot of customs as well as this body. I don't have too much to say about him. It's just a really great figure. He's gonna go right here behind Chewie. And I actually thought I could kind of get away with putting the hexagons at a different angle today to kind of make up for the fact that there's not as many figures, but I think we're just blocking too many of the ones in the back, and so they're sort of designed to stagger the figures. So you can see now Chewie's not actually blocking anyone. No one ever has someone directly in front of them. It's always 4 inches below, while still kind of maximizing shelf space. If you want to download these hexagon stands to 3D print, the files are on my Patreon and my Etsy account. That will be linked below. Next we have the Imperial Patrol Trooper. These were the guys that we saw on the speeder bikes at the beginning of the film. I really love this character design. I think that this is one of my favorite trooper designs, actually. I wish we saw more of them in the film, but he's gonna go right here on the side. This is definitely one of those older troopers with the kind of gummy elbows and knees, but he'll stand up just fine over there. Then we have Kira. I did a Krylon spray coat on her a while ago that got really glossy over time, so I just hit it with some Mr. Hobby. So she's gonna go over here, but the texture on her face is a little bit weird because of all those different coats of spray, but I'm living and I'm learning. Speaking of learning, this is the Lando, aka Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover figure. This is my custom, so this is just a straight repaint of the figure. I was very much learning what I was doing with painting here. Getting white onto black is really difficult, but the Hawaiian shirt could use a little bit more work. I was just kind of really just trying to give the idea there. But I think on the shelf he actually looks pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with how he came out. But we do have to display the original here because that's also just such an incredible figure. Then we've got the Range Trooper. This is really a pretty awesome figure. I'm not usually crazy about soft goods or, you know, kind of tactile materials like that, but I think the fur is pretty minimal here and it works a lot better than the armor or other figures that we've seen with that faux fur. So he's gonna go over here. So I really love the character design of Enfys Nest, but the Black Series figure just left a lot to be desired. It had this really crazy fur and this wonky cape, and you just really couldn't appreciate what the figure looked like. So I did a dark wash on the entire figure, and then I replaced the cape with the Sylvie Marvel Legends cape. This is what the dark wash looks like. I'll have a link to this below. You really just cake all of this on, but when it dries, it looks much lighter, so don't get too freaked out. Then I did some primer on the cape and painted the whole thing. Painted the inside orange and the outside brown. I have a more detailed breakdown of this process on my Instagram story highlights, so you can go check that out at Landspeeder Luke on Instagram. Spray it with some Mr. Super Clear in order to keep it from bleeding, and then I took the armorer's fur and just kind of split it in half and glued it to the shoulders, and this is the final result. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I just think it looks like an actual modern Black Series figure, and just feels like it belongs on the shelf with all the rest of these instead of just that crazy fur that we saw previously. Now the next figure is also just a complete amazing sculpt. This is Rio Durant, voiced by Jon Favreau. This is just one of those figures that you look at it and you can just hear the character's voice in your head. The amount of paint detail on here is crazy. This really, I think, was like peak Black Series, this era. He's gonna go right here in the front as we sort of build out the main crew a little bit more. Then we do have one more figure. It is Val. This just looks exactly like the actress. Everything about this figure is great. Again, this is why I said that like this line is just so impressive. I don't know what went wrong afterwards, like when the quality just isn't as good. I feel like we get here occasionally with newer figures, but it's just not as consistent as it was during this entire era. If you are new here, please click that like button and check out all of the other Shelf Series videos that will be linked at the end of this video. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you all next time.